Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm mostly female fans. Steve Alicious here, and Samsung Galaxy Unpacked Part 2 is over, and we have all the specs and, of course, the images of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2 5G. And Samsung's got a couple bucks. We're not talking about a poor company. I'm going to need you to rein that marketing in just a little, because the names are getting a little wonky, but hopefully they can work on it. But let's talk about the device itself. And unlike the first Fold, this Fold has some questions that it has to answer. With any kind of bleeding edge first generation device, you know it's just about the tech. It's people who are enthusiasts, and it was all about that hinge. But then when you get to a second generation of something like the Fold 2, you're talking more about things that are going to appeal to a broader user base, to consumers at large. So they're going to have to add some refinement. So I think they did that with this. But there was another question that they had to answer. And that is, what functionality does this specific form factor fill? What are you going to have on this type of folding device that you can't get on others and makes this one useful? And it's not like they don't have other visions of what folding devices can be. They sell one. The Z Flip has a pretty specific use case. It's a small little compact device with the screen protected that you unfold or unflip, and you have a larger screen that we're all kind of used to at an aspect ratio that we're used to. So that one has that kind of use case over there. Then there's something like the Microsoft Surface Duo, which you could have the two glass screens. You could have the hinge that goes all the way around. You could have pen support, and it's meant more as a productivity device. So that one has that use case. So what is it going to be for the Fold form factor? What is it going to be for that taller device that just kind of folds in half with the screen on the inside? And I think they answer some of that, or at least go towards answering some of that with this device. So let's talk about things that from the first generation that I really didn't like that they fixed in the Fold 2. The first one being the outer display. And I understand it's a folding device and you want to use that big screen on the inside, but we got to be honest with ourselves here. How often did you want to use that small screen if you had one? Or if you were looking at one and you saw that little goofy screen with the huge bezels on the top and you're thinking about typing on that little 4-inch display, it's not something that you'd be excited about using. So I like the fact that they put a nice full-size 6.2-inch display on the front, because text messages, phone calls, that's the screen you're going to be interacting with. I mean, you sit there having a WhatsApp conversation, you're not, okay, respond. Oh, text it again? Oh, open it up, respond, close it, put it back down. Oh, another call, open it up. No, you're going to be responding a lot on that front display, so it's nice to see that it's improved and a user experience that you might actually want to have. So that's at least geared towards consumers. The big thing, to me, is that variable hinge that they've got on it. It's not binary anymore, right? The Fold 1 was, it's either open and you're using it like that, or it's closed and you're using it like that. But no, now we can have kind of tilt like a regular laptop hinge, where you can have some exciting uses. And I think this is where it comes into where they answer that question. What is this form factor going to do for you in this new folding universe that they're trying to sell us on? And I like a lot of it. The camera stuff was especially interesting. The fact that you could have kind of like an editing board on the bottom half of the display and use it like a palm top, and then have all the front-facing cameras flipped up facing your subject and doing a lot of smart things with the camera were, I think, really interesting. The video stuff, kind of that variable zoom so it could get more of the frame and actually keep track of people in the frame. Imagine, let's say you're at a surprise party or something that you actually want to be a part of instead of just standing behind the lens of a smartphone. You could set up the phone, fold it up, kind of set it to have the variable frame and all the rest of it, and then go ahead and enjoy the event itself and know that the camera is going to capture all of it, or at least most of it, without you having to stand behind it. I think that's a really useful feature that we're going to see a lot more on these type of folding devices. The other thing that I like to see is the fact that you can manhandle this one a little bit. They had people that were holding it wide open like a sheet of paper, that they were holding it up and taking pictures and using the flip out screen, the main outer screen, as kind of the preview for their shot, and getting the selfies with the main cameras, which I think is useful. You had people, it feels like a device that you could actually use. Yeah, you got to be careful with it, but at the same time, you hate these devices that you get, these tech devices that you have to treat like an egg. You're like, oh boy, I can't I got to make sure I'm over a desk, or I got to make sure I'm very careful with how I hold it, and I can only use it with both. No. Give me something that I understand that I have to treat carefully, but I could use it a little bit. So I like the fact that they were a little bit more free with that, where you could kind of hold it in different orientations and get a lot more use out of it, and especially that flip-up one on a desktop where you can maybe be typing or have something down there and then have something on the main screen, whether it be a preview, a YouTube video, whatever you're working on. I think that's going to be especially useful. The other thing that, listen, a lot of people commented on the S10e video that I had. You're all getting the the Snapdragon 865 Plus across the board. You buy it, you're getting an 865 Plus. So congratulations, you don't have to deal with the Exynos anymore. And all these videos you see about people saying, don't sleep on the Exynos. The Exynos is fine. This is a tech reviewer issue. People only talk about it because tech reviewers talk about it. That's not the point. I'm sure you wouldn't even notice the difference. I'm sure it's perfectly fine with both power management and performance. Here's the problem that I have. They're charging you the same. The idea that somebody else can get something more for the same price that you paid infuriates me. I don't care that it's also good. Well, hey, this is good on its own. Yeah, okay, fine. Charge me less for it then. And I don't see why that's such a big deal. It's not an issue of it's not a good phone. It's not an issue of, well, the Exynos is trash. It's just that they're charging the same for something that has better performance somewhere else in the world. So I think you're perfectly justified in saying, hey, well, hold on now. Why is that the case? Why can't I get what everybody else gets when I'm paying the same money? You're not giving me a discount, all right? I'm not a peasant over here paying $500 less. I should be getting the same as everybody else. Even if you don't need it, you're paying for it. You should get it. Here's the other thing. This is kind of a gripe, but listen, it's the third time they've done this. They did it with the S20. They did it with the Note 20 Ultra, and they're doing it here. You can't get the full 120 hertz on the main inside screen at Quad HD. And I don't understand, especially when they have stuff like the S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra, and now this one that they're charging $2,000 for. They're like, max specs, max price. And you're like, excuse me, Samsung, can I use it at max settings? Whoa, hold on. We got a lunatic over here. Look at this guy. He wants to be running it at, what are you, nuts? What are you like? They're like Michael Caine in Batman. Some people just want to watch their battery life burn. No, let me make that decision. I'm a big boy. I understand the risks. If I turn around and see that my battery life is complete garbage, I can go ahead and then revert the settings back to 1080p at 120 hertz. Don't start this thing where you're like Apple, where you feel like you have to shepherd us and reduce features and kind of performance because you want to protect battery life. That's a very slippery slope, and I don't like it. And it's not like it's not like we're asking for technology that's not available. They sell panels that do this to other manufacturers that, make cell phones. But listen, overall, I like it. And one of the other things I like is the multitasking. The fact that you can have multiple apps open. You can have multiple instances of apps open, like Chrome. You can have 2 Chromes open, doing different things. You can have your multiple apps open on different accounts. I think that's really useful for productivity. They're working with Microsoft as far as to get the Office suite in a way where it can be orientated where it's most productive, which I think is really interesting. So I think they're kind of mastering that. And this is why they're going to allow you on the Apps Edge to have multiple combinations of apps open and running. So you can just click it and all 3 pop up on your screen. And you're going to want all those cached, right? You're going to want all those running in the background. You're going to want them ready and snappy and ready to go as soon as you hit the button, which is why you're going to want more than 6 gigs of RAM on a device. Microsoft! Who said that? Who? Got a wise guy in here. Anyway, look, I understand that you don't need 12 gigs. That might be overkill. But 8 or 10 on a device like this, especially when you're charging that money, is nice to be able to have those extra apps that you could have open and just have multiple instances of apps. When you have 2 Twitters open, 2 Instagram, whatever it is, Chrome, multiple Chromes, instead of dealing with tabs and having to deal with that mess, you could just have all your apps on the Apps Edge. Bam, I want these 3 apps. Boom, they open. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing social media. Boom, 3 apps, and you want them all open and snappy and ready to go. Overall, I like the refinements. I like the fact that they changed the the build quality of it a little bit. It's not rounded like the edge of the first one looked like it was rounded like the edge of an iPhone. Now it's kind of squared off a little bit like the Note, so it might be easier to hold when it's in its closed form, which I like quite a bit. I understand they down some of the camera specs, but you can't have that kind of hump on the back of that device because you want that laying as flat as possible on a table. You don't want that wobbling around and then having to deal with all that. You don't need that super zoom. It seems similar to the camera setup on the Note 10 Plus and also on the regular Note 20, which would be just fine, especially with those additional enhancements that they have and the things that you could do with the folded up display, which I think is really neat. So I think you're going to be, for the most part, okay on the camera end of things. They say it's that ultra thin glass, but you're still touching plastic, which I'm going to have to see. I think I'm finally going to jump in. I think they've done enough to kind of make it appealing to more general consumers. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in. We're going to have it here on the channel, and we'll finally get our hands on a folding device, really my first one in general, so we can get our hands on that, see what all the fuss is about, see if there's actually some use cases that are practical for everybody, and we'll have all of that. So overall, they addressed a lot of the concerns. Very happy about that. And you always these cutting edge things, you always got to wait for the second gen. Here it is. Let's give it a try. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. If you used the first fold, and if they let me know if they addressed your concerns from the first one. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.